Hi, I'm Reb Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. I'm going through the lessons this year as I've done before, asking Jesus to clarify for me, and then I'm writing from that clarity, and that's what I'm sharing with you today. So let's get started. Don't forget to go back and read the special topic for this week, these 10 lessons, which is what is sin. That's what Jesus asks us to do. So we're looking at lesson 256. God is the only goal I have today. The way to God is through forgiveness here. There is no other way. If sin has not been cherished by the mind, what need would there have been to find the way to where you are? Who would still be uncertain? Who could be unsure of who he is? And who would yet remain asleep in heavy clouds of doubt about the holiness of him whom God created sinless? Here we can but dream. But we can dream we have forgiven him in whom all sin remains impossible, and it is this we choose to dream today. God is our goal. Forgiveness is a means by which our minds return to him at last. And so, our Father, would we come to you in your appointed way. We have no goal except to hear your voice and find the way your sacred word has pointed out to us. The way to God is through forgiveness here. There is no other way. Jesus is uncompromising in this statement. Forgiveness is a way, and there is no other way to God. I must forgive. This is why I'm here. It's my mission and my purpose. And no grievance can be left unforgiven. I live by this. There is no grievance so big that I cannot forgive. There is no grievance so small I believe I can ignore it. The last time I wrote about this lesson, I had a different goal. I had made my goal to be disappointed in myself and to see myself as wrong. I did this because the night before I fell into an ego fugue and lost my way for a while. The next day, the ego thought system demanded punishment for that sin. I saw myself falling for that ridiculous idea. Yet, until I read this lesson, I just kept falling. I remembered that my only goal is God, and it felt like the darkness had receded, and there was only light. So I found my way to God through forgiveness. I forgave myself my error, and the idea that I could be affected by an error, that the Son of God could be changed by a dream of imagined sin. The day before, I dreamed of being weak and helpless. After reading this lesson and being renewed, I dreamt of forgiveness. All I had to do was remember my purpose and that I had no goal but God. I asked the Holy Spirit to choose for God for me, and the darkness lifted, and I felt happiness and peace once again. This is from our topic, What is Sin? It said, the body is the instrument the mind made in its efforts to deceive itself. Its purpose is to strive, yet can the goal of striving change? I had used a body to fill a false sense of emptiness with ice cream, and when that didn't work, I tried pretty much everything else in the kitchen I could think of. None of it worked, and it only seemed to make me feel weak and helpless and all the emptier. I was using the body to strive to fix a problem that doesn't exist. The next day I used a body to strive to fill my mind with the truth. I was not then guilty, nor have I ever been guilty. Guilt doesn't exist except in the confusion of a mind that believes it's separate from God. Today I strive for happiness and peace where it can be found, not at the bottom of a bowl of ice cream, but within my own mind. If we are here, we need to forgive. It's the only way we're going to awaken. Jesus says there's no other way. He didn't say forgiveness is one way, but that it is the only way. To forgive, as he intends us to understand forgiveness, we undo the ego. When I was feeling resentful toward a friend, I knew I had to forgive that. I didn't say, I forgive her for imposing on me. That would make her guilty then, first. And you can't pardon a sin if you believe that someone is really guilty. And that's just not the same as forgiveness when we try to do that. I had to recognize that I had projected guilt onto her, and then I had to withdraw that guilt and forgive the idea that anyone could ever be guilty. I know that the ego self in all of us is guilty, but we are not that. We are not our egos, and the ego is not real, so why would I want to correct it? Why would I want to blame the ego for being the ego? Why do I care what it's done as an ego when the ego is only imagination, a hallucination? It's like holding a grudge against a fictional character in my favorite novel. Forgiveness is letting go. When I say that I forgive, I mean that I let go of the belief that is the source of the thoughts in my mind. If I were upset with a friend, I would forgive the belief that someone could upset me. I would forgive, that is, let go, the belief that I or anyone else could possibly be guilty. As I let go of these beliefs, what is there to be upset about? Who could I be upset with? Also remember this. Your starting point is truth, and you must return to your beginning. Much has been seen since then, but nothing has really happened. And that's from the text, chapter 3, section 7. So I remember that nothing has happened. It appears as if I've seen something upsetting, but nothing has happened. There is no world, and we are not these bodies. So how is it that I can be upset by the story of Myron? That could only happen if I thought I was Myron. But I know that Myron doesn't exist. The story of Myron is an ancient memory I put before my eyes. I will use it to undo all stories as I use it to heal my mind. And here's something else I must remember. This is from chapter 27, section 7. And it says, the secret of salvation is but this, that you are doing this unto yourself. No matter what the form of the attack, this is still true. Whoever takes a role of enemy and of attacker, still is this the truth. Whatever seems to be the cause of any pain and suffering you feel, this is still true. For you would not react at all to figures in a dream if you knew that you were dreaming. Let them be as hateful and as vicious as they may, they could have no effect on you unless you failed to recognize it is your dream. Understand from all this that I can easily forgive because there's nothing to forgive. And that is the bottom line. So this is from Regina's Tips. As we read our special theme today, let's replace the word sin with ignorance. In this case, ignorance is defined as ignoring the truth. For example, ignorance is insanity, or ignoring the truth is insanity. It is a means by which the mind is driven mad and seeks to let illusions take the place of truth. Let's read the special theme again. This time, replace the word sin with outward focus. For example, outward focus gave the body eyes. And outward focus is the home of all illusions, which stand for things imagined, issuing from thoughts that are untrue. And my thoughts. Whenever I think anyone is guilty, including myself, it is because I ignore the truth with an outward focus. When I have a memory of something I did in the world that I regret, that is an outward focus, ignoring the truth that I am not the body or the person that has done this. I am the watcher, the observer, and what I did was part of my script to help me become aware of beliefs that are tethering me to the world. I can then release the belief I am guilty of the behavior. Regina's tips on the lesson. It is important to look at all these alternative terms because sin typically implies guilt to most people. It reinforces a false idea that something is inherently wrong with me, which reinforces the idea of separation. However, as we consider alternative terms, we see that there is a habit that has been formed. It's a habit of ignoring our true self, focusing outward and believing our thoughts, judgments regarding everything the body senses. We also see that the body, as a sensing organ, reinforces a habit of looking outward, a habit that has been cherished by the mind. When we see the problem clearly, we can also see the solution. If ignoring the truth, focusing outward, and believing the mind's judgments is the problem, then paying attention to truth, focusing inward, and ignoring the mind's judgments is the solution. Said another way, awareness, watching awareness, meditation, surrendering to intuition, and the loving all method are solutions to insanity. So what is the goal today? The same as yesterday. Today I will forgive. I will look at whatever thought might cross my mind that causes me the least discomfort, and I will forgive it. Yesterday I said something to my daughter that caused her to feel anxious. It was not deliberate, but it happened. She could have taken it differently, and it wouldn't have affected her, but she took it the way she did. What I noticed is that her discomfort made me anxious. I noticed the feeling right away. It was guilt and fear. I felt guilty for upsetting her, even in this little way, and I felt fear because I did not want to damage that special relationship. I saw all of that very quickly, and just as quickly I realized this was the ego perception of the situation, and I was not interested. I was not interested in the specialness, the guilt, or the fear. I told the Holy Spirit that I have no use for this and asked Him to remove that thinking from my mind. This is what forgiveness looked like in this situation. It was my goal, and I achieved it. A moment that could have turned into a big deal just faded away. My mind returned to the peaceful place it had been in before. I look forward to another day of peace in choosing only for the voice for God. Forgiveness is the acknowledgement that there's nothing to forgive. Once I was in the throes of an ego storm, and just for a moment my awareness was not in the body, but watching the body. I was very aware that Myron was at war with herself, really. I saw her fear and was aware of her decision to be in this situation. It lasted only for a minute or two, but I was above the battleground long enough to make a real impression on me. Since that experience, I haven't had as much trouble accepting that I am not this body. It helped me to make another decision and to see differently. And no matter what seems to be going on, who is doing what to me, the truth remains unaffected, and I am not guilty of anything, nor is anyone else. We cannot be guilty, ever. I am not really forgiving myself for something I did, but forgiving the thought that I could be guilty. We, the sons of God, are innocent, just as we were created. Yesterday I practiced stepping back and being guided. I experienced this as full surrender. Here I am, God. I belong to you. He gave me a thought of something I have held on to because I was afraid of letting it go. I sat with this until I felt the fear melt away, and my surrender went deeper than it ever has before. Once again, during the day, I had a chance to decide if I am fully committed to surrender. Though I said I was surrendered, I had to look at the stubborn desire to make decisions on my own, and to do that over and over until I finally let it go to God. I think of it this way. I can keep this fruitless attempt to control the world around me, or I can ask the Holy Spirit to make all my decisions and let love take care of everything. It is taking some practice on my part to master this decision, but I will. Thank you so much for sharing this lesson with me. If you found it helpful, then please like it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And I will be back tomorrow with another lesson.